Welcome to the Tech and Ed Podcast, the only podcast to cover the geek side of ed tech. Welcome to the show, and thanks for joining. My name is Mohammed, and today I have my co-host with me, Tamer. And today is our first episode where we'll be talking about the podcast, why we decided to make this podcast, and some of our future episodes. Tamer, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself?
All right, hello everyone, and what's going on? My name's Tamer, and I have about 12 years of experience in this ed tech space, which I think is a very unique space in the world of technology. So, you have your corporate infrastructural technology guys, your network guys, your server guys, and, you have your VoIP guys, and there's so many different facets. But what's really cool about ed tech is that if you work in this space, you're wearing multiple hats. You're that server guy, you're that network guy, you're that VoIP guy, you're that security camera guy, you're that infrastructure guy, that backend WAN, LAN. We do it all.
And
right?
even in smaller districts, you might be the security coordinator as well.
That's true. You might be the security guard, depending on the district. But no, so I've been doing this for about 12 years. I'm currently a network administrator for Hawthorne Public Schools, which is I'd say a small small to mid-sized school district in North Jersey, not too large. But I've been around the block, if you will. I've worked for many different school districts in my 12 years. I worked for Manchester Regional High School, which is actually where Mo had his humble beginnings as well. And I went to William Patterson University. I got my degree in computer science from there. And I got to be honest with you, I've loved every minute of my time in this space, and I don't really plan on leaving. I'm definitely in love with ed tech. How about you, Mo?
Well, currently I'm the director over at TNX Schools. I've had 14 years of experience, so just a tad bit.
I give you those 2 years. I give it to you.
I have 14 years experience, 12 of them in education, and 2 of them I actually went to the corporate world, and it is a completely different beast. As Tamer was saying, you have completely different departmentalized silos running different areas of technology, whereas in schools it's commingled, or maybe the same person. I started as a technician, and I worked my way up. Technician at Manchester, worked my way up, went to corporate, came back, system administration, then I was a technology coordinator, and now to my current role as director. And I went to NJIT for exactly what I'm doing, management information systems. So I kind of lucked out, finding the correct degree for what I'm doing. Luckily that happened to me. I know it doesn't always happen to everybody else. And then between the 2 of us, we probably have a number of certifications that we're going for or already have. So,
are we going to list them all?
No need to
I don't think we have enough time on this
Right.
podcast to list all the certifications that we've been getting over the years.
Mm-hmm.
But talking about this podcast, so this is episode 0. It's going to really be just our intro episode, right? For those of you that are just listening in on this episode, this is a great episode to listen to. Really figure out what is it that this podcast is about, right? You got hundreds of podcasts about technology out there. What makes this podcast unique? What makes it, something that you're going to want to listen to? And why did we do this? So, I would say first and foremost is that there's probably nothing out there that talks about technology, and I mean real, core technology in the educational world. You have a lot of podcasts out there that are talking about educational curriculum side of the technology in the educational space, but there's nothing really talking about what the tech directors are talking about, what the network admins are talking about, what the technicians are talking about, those technology decisions that we're making on a day-to-day basis that are really focused around that educational space, and everything in regards to that, but the technology, the actual core technology of it, right?
That's right. It was pretty funny. We both came up with the idea where we individually wanted to create a podcast. And so we decided, we told each other, and we said, yeah, you know what? I have this great idea. I want to start a podcast. And then we said the same thing. Oh my God, I was thinking the same thing. And so we said, let's just make a podcast together, and we'll probably have a great show. And, again, there's not much out there. The technology departments in education are not the same as they are in corporate. The challenges that we face are far beyond what actually happens, from AV stuff, networking stuff, dealing with staff members, the different policies that we have to follow, dealing with students, right? So we're not just dealing with adults in a corporate environment where, you can give a an employee a laptop, and then it's their responsibility to be making sure they use that device. We're now giving devices and logins and accounts to students. We need to make sure that the students are also doing what they're supposed to be doing. So, the podcast was made because there is no outlet like this. And we want to start having an outlet. We want to start having a voice and to allow people that are in this field to actually have something to listen to.
Yeah, no, I mean, like you said yourself right in the beginning, right? In the corporate world, you have your technology departments and there's silos, right? You have your network team and you have your server team and you may have your, routing team and you may have your WAN team and your LAN team and your, Wi-Fi team, all your different teams, database teams. And you have all these different teams that are working. And, in education, unfortunately, the budgets are just not there to have these large teams of people that work in these silos. So we have the situations where, we are wearing those multiple hats where, one day I might be inside a server and the next day I might be sitting on a policy meeting, and the day after that we could be talking about budgeting, and then the day after that I'm in the ceiling pulling a cable to a broken security camera. You know what I mean? So we're doing a lot of different things in a lot of different areas, and you're right, 100%. Our challenges are completely different than the corporate world. Just as a quick example, you look at like a big topic that's happening in education right now, one-to-one devices, right? How many corporate technology departments are considering the breakage factor of the device as a core deciding aspect of which device you're going to go with? Not so big in the in the corporate world where you're giving your devices to responsible adults like that. Huge in the educational world where we're giving them to kids that are not there yet with their responsibility skills and things like that. So those are just an example of some of the things that I think we face on a day-to-day that just are not relatable to people in the corporate world, right? And then I think the other thing from this podcast is we want it to be very like free flowing, right? So Mo and me, we on almost a near weekly basis, we go and we hang out with a bunch of tech directors and coordinators and facilitators from other school districts, and we kind of just get together and we we have a couple drinks, have some food, and we kind of just talk shop, if you will, right? So we're like, what, we need a podcast that does this exact same thing so that we can extend these conversations that we're having on a weekly basis to everyone at home.
We said we're doing it every week. Might as well record ourselves.
Yeah, exactly, right? So I think that's what's going to be really unique about this podcast is that it's going to be a very lightweight but still a very unique podcast targeting a really, really unique audience. And we're talking a lot about tech directors, facilitators, and coordinators, but that's not the only people that are going to benefit from hearing what we talk about in this podcast.
We want all members of the technology department, from the technicians, server admins, network admins.
Absolutely.
And if we can start getting people to listen to this outside of a technology department, I would be happy, because it just means that people are starting to pay attention. This is a world that is moving fast, and technology is integrated into everything.
Yes.
Every portion of a school, from new constructions, curriculum, sports. I was just, with the athletic directors, they're recording with cameras and connecting to the Wi-Fi, and how can we stream games? So even from athletics and every portion of it is now related to the technology department. We have to be in every section of a school.
Yeah, and the other part of that too is, like you said, people outside the technology department, right? Like, so superintendents and BAs and principals and decision makers are really going to benefit from listening to something like this, because it's going to give them a lot of insight onto a side of it that they may not be considering or even really looking into, right? That technology side. And you have a lot of those school districts that are just small, so they may not even have a technology coordinator. They may just have someone that's doing day-to-day maintenance and
facilitator.
Like a facilitator, but they don't have someone that's doing the long-term planning, right? And the long-term goal setting. And now that those roles and responsibilities are on the superintendent and on the BA and on the board members and principals and stuff like that. And if you don't have your head really wrapped around this, it can be very daunting.
Yeah. And you can be left behind, because technology moves really fast. And if you don't keep up, you will get left behind, and it will cost a lot to get back up to date.
Yeah.
Now, on that topic, the majority of this podcast will be more on the technical end. Sure, we might have discussions about, things going on in the classroom, but we really wanted to get into the infrastructure, the back end, networking, security. What are we doing? What do we think is right out there? And Tamer and I have two completely different views on certain things, and certain things we agree on. But that's why we have such amazing conversations. Is it's never always agreeing with each other. We're always kind of not, I wouldn't say arguing, but we're always having a conversation like, this is how I would do things. No, this is how I would do things, and really get into this is why you should configure your network with certain VLANs like this, or separate it like that. And so we're taking these conversations and just recording ourselves. So this will be a technical podcast. It will very much go over the technical things. And with all of those technical aspects, we also would like to encourage a lot of the guests to come on as well. I've reached out to a couple companies as well as other coordinators, directors to come in and talk about different topics that they may possibly have already done presentations. And let's say you missed it, or you just want to hear it in a podcast, or you couldn't go to a PD or be able to talk about this conference, and you can listen to this podcast at your desk or while you're driving to work or anything along those lines.
Yeah, no, I think it's going to be a really great podcast. It's going to be very holistic view of technology in the educational space, and I think that's going to be really great. And it's really for anyone that has any hand in that. And so I think that's going to be very beneficial for those of you that do have a hand in that. To take the stuff that we talk about here and bring those conversations to your districts, right? And I don't think we're not close to the world either, right? So we want to hear from you guys too that are listening and giving us that feedback and that idea. Hey, in my district, I'm doing this and this, and this is some of the challenges I'm facing this week, this month, this quarter, this year. And that's stuff that we would love to hear from you guys on, and we can always talk about. So we want to really create a network, if you will, of just
a community.
Conversation. Yeah,
a community of tech people. So with that being said, some of our upcoming episodes will go over, some of the conferences, the NJ Texpo conference, as well as some network monitoring, server infrastructure. We have a couple cool episodes coming up. We don't want to release too much, but next episode will be about Texpo, conferences, professional development, as well as networking. I think that's an important piece that a lot of us miss, is the networking. And I know you had like a great business description or analogy as far as networking between directors and schools. So I remember you were telling me that story once, and I really liked it. Well, it was about I think it was the envelopes. It was like the competition between the envelopes.
Oh yeah. No, it's true. You talk about corporate world. I forget. It's funny you brought that. I completely forgot we even had that conversation.
It was so good because it just kind of puts the playing field on the competition in schools and why it's really not too required. But.
Yeah, no, it's true. So what Mo was talking about, we were having a conversation a couple of weeks ago, and I was saying, I never understood why tech directors wouldn't want to network, right? Wouldn't want to communicate and kind of just share information with each other, right? Because when we're talking about the school ecosystem, for the most part, we're not really competing with each other, right? Especially when you're talking about public sector, especially, which is where we work, right? Your set of students is not my set of students. We're in completely separate districts targeting completely separate kids. So it's advantageous for us to talk to each other, actually, because you may have an idea that's really working in your district that can benefit my kids and vice versa. Unlike, the envelopes. So the envelope, I gave a really bad example about a company making envelopes and another one, but I think Mo summed it up to Staples and Office Depot, right?
Yeah.
Staples and Office Depot, there's a need to have competition there, right? They're in the same market. They're targeting the same people. They're doing the same thing essentially, right? But we're doing the same thing, and we're in the same market, but we're targeting completely different people, right?
Yeah.
So that competition,
the students from your town won't come to the school in my town.
No.
Now you have your tech schools and that's all great, but it doesn't mean that we shouldn't network with them.
No.
Because if they are doing great things, we should take that and maybe not mimic them or just take that advice and say, I can change this a little bit and it'll work for us.
Yes.
Whereas when it's like corporate industries, you're kind of competing with each other or with yourself.
Yeah.
So, that's another piece is we do want the communication and the competition less atmosphere.
Yeah, no, absolutely. It's definitely, there's just the environment is conducive to being more networking and collaborating friendly than competition friendly. But and that's actually why I'm really looking forward next week. Mo mentioned it before. We're going down to Texpo in Atlantic City. So for those of you that don't know, or for those of you that may not be from New Jersey, Texpo's a kind of an annual conference that happens down in Atlantic City. Great opportunity. We're going to talk about that next episode, and we have some really great topics coming up in future episodes that we've already started to plan. So, make sure that you stay tuned, and remember that you can find this weekly podcast on all major podcasting platforms. YouTube, what else are we on? iHeartRadio, Spotify, Apple,
the whole nine.
Where you find us everywhere.
We're honestly over there.
Yeah, we're over there. Our episodes are released every Tuesday, and if you'd like more information about this and future episodes, you can visit our website www.techandedmedia.com. And lastly, don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel and follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter @TechandEdMedia. And thanks for supporting this podcast.
Thank you.